With JD Vance being recently selected as Donald Trump's running mate in 2024, very few, outside of those who are very engaged in politics, know just who he actually is. He's 39, and the first millennial to be on a presidential ticket. I've seen some people on both the left and the right criticise him for various reasons, some of which are just stupid and idiotic, and it genuinely annoys me. Like some may suggest he's not even from Appalachia. As someone who purchased and thoroughly read his New York Times best-selling book Hillbilly Elegy a little while ago, as I knew he would be selected as Trump's running mate, I'm going to explain who he is. Before we begin, if you like this video, liking and subscribing really massively helps out the channel. But with all that out of the way, let's begin. Hillbilly Elegy opens with, I quote, "I've accomplished nothing great in my life. I'm not a senator, a governor, or a former cabinet secretary. Well, currently a senator and Trump's running mate, so that book's very out of date already." He grew up dirt poor to a family of hillbilly immigrants who had moved to Middletown, Ohio from Jackson, Kentucky, in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains due to the steel plant that offered well-paying jobs there. Jackson is where he spent most of his summers as a youth. Hillbilly Elegy explains the decline of the Rust Belt, the problems facing the working class whites, the struggles of his dysfunctional household, through his drug-addicted mother and the ever-changing number of boyfriends that she had, how his grandmother saved him from being another hillbilly, on welfare and food stamps, struggling to get by. She pushed him academically and physically, and her work paid off. JD served in the Marines for 4 years in Iraq, graduated Ohio State University in just 2 years, and graduated from Yale Law School, all while dealing with the scars of his early upbringing. It's a truly inspiring story, and a book I would highly recommend you read, as it explains an often forgotten part of America. Now, JD wasn't the massive Trump supporter you might always think he was. He was a never Trumper in 2016, and supported Evan McConnell, who was a CIA agent. Being Donald Trump's running mate, you might think JD was a loyal backer of Trump all the way back from the beginning, but that's not true. JD was a vocal never Trumper in 2016, and he supported CIA agent Evan McConnell instead. He called Trump America's Hitler, and he called him poison. He appeared on CNN and MSNBC to explain why working class whites supported Donald Trump. During Trump's presidency, he worked in the Silicon Valley, working for a variety of companies that Peter Thiel was connected to. In 2020, JD Vance founded his own venture capitalist firm called Narva Capital in Cincinnati. He turned to his tech connections, including the former Google chief executive Eric Schmidt, the billionaire investor Mark Anderson, and Thiel, to raise $120 million to fund it. Mr. Thiel agreed to serve on Narva's leadership and advisory committee. As he was gearing up for his 2022 Ohio Senate race, he apologised for his previous statements on Trump, and said that he liked Trump's policies while he was in office, and also that he had evolved politically. Whether you believe he changed sincerely, or what caused this change, is your decision. He lost some weight, grew a beard, and geared up to run for the Ohio Senate race. He won the Republican nomination narrowly, largely through Trump's endorsement, which he credited to his strong debate performance, though he did frequently travel to Mar-a-Lago to seek Trump's endorsement. He then went on to win his race by 6 points against longtime Democratic Representative Tim Ryan, who represented Youngstown, Ohio, which is a manufacturing hub. JD did underperform the rest of the GOP candidates in 2022, but this is because Tim Ryan was a strong candidate who had a long history of representing blue-collar workers, as well as Ryan distanced himself from Joe Biden and National Democrats, and even endorsed some of Trump's policies, calling them, I quote, "good for Ohio." He was the first senator to endorse Trump in 2024. He's very intelligent and articulate. He's seen as loyal, which is something Trump values highly. He was pushed by Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, and Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel, of course, is a close ally of Vance, that he spent $15 million supporting Vance in his race. I'm going to rattle off some things that might have contributed to JD Vance being selected as the vice president. He was the first senator to endorse Trump in 2024. He's seen as very intelligent and articulate. He's seen as loyal, something that Trump values very highly. He was pushed by Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, and Peter Thiel as they phoned Trump to vocally support Vance. And Peter Thiel is a close ally of Vance, as he spent $15 million on his Senate race. Tucker promoted him as assassination insurance, so that if Trump was killed, that I quote, "the deep state would be fearful of him." His ideology is quite isolationist, saying Ukraine is, I quote, "not America's problem." As well as that, he is protectionist, He supports tariffs and bringing manufacturing jobs back, policies that support the working class white Trump base, regulations on trading companies after the East Palestine derailment, supporting unions, supporting bills that give steelworkers paid sick leave. He supported breaking up big multinational corporations as they harm the American worker, and also because they are, I quote, thoroughly progressive. He's seen as strong on immigration. I know Trump values strength and loyalty. All other VP candidates fell short on one of those two things. I knew he would not pick Marco Rubio due to his 2016 presidential run, as well as Trump would have to change his state of residency, as you can't have a president and vice president from the same state. And he knew he wouldn't pick Doug Burgum, because he was seen as soft and prone to crying at times, things Trump doesn't want to be associated with, I quote, "When I see a man cry, I view it as weakness." JD Vance represents the Trump base. He is not a candidate that would have expanded Trump's coalition like where others would have, like Rubio with Hispanics, Glenn Youngkin with moderates. This is a successor and legacy pick, someone to carry out the ideology of Trumpism, and JD is the closest person that can do that. He's someone who's going to have a lot of influence on the Trump transition if he wins in 2024. He will have a lot to say over who gets jobs in the Trump administration. Though there are some concerns some have expressed. His connections to Teal Palantir's Technologies, which has massive contracts with the Pentagon, and US intelligence like NSA, providing software for them. He also created PayPal and helped fund Clearwater AI, which creates facial recognition software for law enforcement, as well as data harvesting, taking facial images from social media and selling that information on. His rise is also very suspect. He's only been senator for a little more than a year, and then he was selected as vice president. He's going to be the first major presidential figure with some facial hair since William Howard Taft in 1912, so that's something, I guess. He worked at the American Enterprise Institute, which I'll say you should research yourself. He's also viewed as being uncharismatic, as well as having some unpopular positions on abortion. So that's a brief overview of JD Vance, who is more than likely the next vice president, and then the Republican nominee in 2028. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, as this helps the channel. I've been History with Matt, thank you very much for watching.